Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Mopars.com. Thursday night, 9:47 p.m. Gonna try to get this thing cranked out. As always, if you're new here, I've got timestamps and links down below. Feel free to jump around the video, and if you want to pick up a pair of these for yourself, you can do so at the link. I make nothing off of that. It's strictly there for your convenience. That said, in our Wednesday video, which was another late night, I highlighted like a 2024 gift guide. Basically, it's me reminding you advent calendars are currently in stock and available. And then, of course, we highlighted some of the limited edition stuff. Knipex has some stuff. They've got some holiday gift sets, which turns out comes in like a really cool box. Basically, just something along those lines. Tried to highlight a couple of new things. One of those new things is in my hand. This new thing would come from Knipex. It is their part number 8202250, and it would cost you $65.04. However, we did not pay that. You're sitting there and you're saying, why didn't you pay that? You know, what kind of a sweetheart deal are you getting? You said no affiliate links. What's the catch? This was tool of the day. I was shocked. This was something that had like literally just come in stock, and then boom, tool of the day. It's kind of rare that happens, but that is when you pounce. That's when you strike. That's when you take advantage. This isn't some shelf fodder that was released in like 2006, you know, and it's had a handle refresh once. It was like brand new and shocking. And what it is, I tried to dig out a relatively clean pair for you. Is a big brother to this, and some of you instantly recognize this. If you're curious, 8202200. This is a TwinGrip. Made a pretty comprehensive video on that. If you haven't seen it, you want to learn more, feel free to check it out. Special thing about these pliers, they were developed by Knipex North America. It's super cool in my opinion. Of course, German company, has been, still is, but to have the North American team say, hey, this is a good idea, we think they'd sell, run it by, you know, the uppers and be like, yeah, you know, go ahead and try it and develop it and prototype it and test it and, you know, put it to market and actually have it come to fruition. Just super cool. This is all that was available. You had the 8202200 and you had the 8201200. If at this point in time you haven't figured it out, 82, think of that as TwinGrip. Your 01, that would be your traditional, right, dipped, sort of textured, not like the channel lock dipped red, which you can see an example of here. I hate these handles. It's not just because the one went in antifreeze and has never gotten better despite being brake cleaned and heat gunned and everything I know to do. I just don't like it. I'm okay with dip like this from Channel Lock, and that's pretty much the only company, and I cannot tell you why. It makes no sense to me, but I do not like these handles. That said, a lot of pliers Knipex has, particularly the small stuff, it's a little more forgiving there, is only available in that iteration, but they have the textured grip, right? And that's going to be something along these lines. So it's sort of dipped, but it has the texture. You should be familiar with all this. But what I'm getting at is this is the 01 in terms of Knipex TwinGrip. So 01 is going to be plastic textured handle. 02 is going to be what most people refer to as a comfort grip, even though it's technically kind of more of like a 2-component. I guess now it could technically be a 3-component, and that's one of the things we are going to hit on. So, tool of the day, what I want to know right now is how many of you cashed in on this. Hopefully you did not miss out. If you did, it is in stock, but sadly, not a tool of the day pricing. I should also stress, because this comes up all the time, you know, people, I'm up late at night, that's when I have free time, I have to make it. So I see this stuff at midnight when it's fresh, right? Maybe you have to wait until you get home from work, like, you know, 7, 8 o'clock at night. Oh no, there were TwinGrips, but they're out of stock. You can still buy it at tool of the day pricing. You'll have to wait for it to come in and ship to you, but you can still take advantage of the savings. It is worth it to do that. Most of the time, this would be one of those cases where, yes, pull the trigger and patiently wait. What I can tell you is, I always try to showcase tools. That's why, you know, people get finicky, but this is not a review. It kind of is in this case because I'm familiar with it, but it's a tool haul. It's a showcase. So I want the tool to like look good, be pristine, straight out of the box. You're thinking like, well, yeah, the box is mint. You just got this the other day. It was tool. Open it, show it to us. I had to use this. And I guess I didn't have to, but it was sort of dire straits. As mentioned, like I don't get to film this stuff at work. A lot of people do that or seem to have free time or don't have jobs somehow. I work like a lot. And my free time, again, is like 10 o'clock at night when I get to come out here and do this stuff, right? So imagine, if you will, you wheel up, from a long day at work and you have the first cold front of the season, and guess what? You got like 2 sections of fence that are about down. And by about down, I'm talking like the angle of incidence, if the north wind wasn't blowing, would have already been down. And, like today, when the southwest wind returns. But that aside, it was like, uh-oh. And I just instantly, like, plans of going in, starting supper, all that, just nope, gotta go fix the fence before it goes down. Much easier, especially as a one-man show, to do that while it's still somewhat attached, right? So let me dig this out. Kind of hard with a gloved hand, but this trusty companion of mine, the Cobra XS. All right, this is what it looks like with pocket patina. I instantly grab this thing and I start screwing everything back in. You're like, screws? I thought you said the fence was down. It's nails. In normal places, yes, but again, I live in the wind. Very, very windy. And you've got to downstate, like I talk to friends and they're like, what? I just dig a hole and put the post in there. You cannot do that here. You have to have cement. Your wood post in the ground, I don't care if it's 4x4, it's coming down. It's just not a question of if, it's when. So long story short, I bust these out and I'm sitting there, turn. You can kind of get to where you can ratchet action them a little bit. But it sucks. It really sucks because you've got a flat surface like this, and I'm coming in here and I'm grabbing the lag screw and I turn, and then I hit a point where I can't, and so I come in and try to maximize things and turn, and you rinse and you repeat. It takes a long time. These aren't long screws, like 1 3/4 inch, 1.5, somewhere in that range, but like fractions of a turn at a time. You're going to be there a while. And I knew that as long as thieves didn't come, either on the porch or in the mailbox, I had this package. And this package was a box with some other cool stuff. But most importantly, in the case of the emergency fence, had the 8202 250s. As you know, with Knipex, if you haven't figured it out yet, if I have an opportunity to get this style handle, that is what I do. So pulling these out, we'll cast that aside, and I can tell you right now, these are in pretty good shape, but they've definitely been used. So I do apologize about that. The good news is the oil in the bag took some of the grass off. Basically, your 3 attachment points, right, have to go on both sides. These were not ideal for that. I'll be honest, the 6-inch would have been better, but when I come in, and instead of having to make fractions of a turn with the Cobras, I'm able to come in like this. I just clamp down and I spin. It works really well, especially if you don't have a tripod in front of you. But I saved a crud ton of time. Did I save a section of fence? Maybe. It would have just depended. But I went to the worst ones first. Kind of went to town. But this glorious thing right here was tool of the day. Again, 8202 250. If you hate this style handle, which you may be intrigued by here shortly, you want the 8201, you'll get your plastic textured dipped handle. So, looking at this guy, since it does have a little bit of use on it, that's literally all it's done. It came out of the package. You see that there? Like the little hairy looking thing? It's not from my gloves, that's a spider web. Oh yeah, I tell you, October in the Texas Panhandle, and you got all kinds of good stuff. There's like a certain time of the year, usually mid-September, like you go out to do a chain link gate at work, and if you're not paying attention, you just get into spider webs because they're everywhere, and then they're like these huge stringers, and again, with the wind, when it picks up, you see how far they go, and like some of these things are like 20-foot strings, right? But down there you can kind of see she got a little bit of wear on her, nothing too crazy, but that is not how it was sent out. Knipex isn't slipping, they're not finishing things out great. That's because it's been used, and for that I do apologize, but it was awesome to have Basically what you're going to see there is fence stain, wood, and the metal that shaves off of lag screws and screws. There's some more spider web. There's a lot of grass that stuck to it because of the oil, but again, it's kind of come off. So nothing too crazy, but again, I do hate that they're not like pristine and ooh, you know, pretty. Like I got to go acquire one of those for myself, but I think it's still in decent enough shape you can appreciate it. So what on earth is Knipex doing? They sort of dropped this just out of left field, wasn't anticipated. I personally had I think gone on record several times of saying I'd love to see a smaller version of the TwinGrip. Well, rejoice, they do have a smaller version. If you're like, what? You know, yes, you know, XS, not quite XS yet. But what they did, you've got the 8-inch here, kind of the middle child now. And then going a size up, they jumped 2 inches, basically in your 8-inch to your 10-inch for you metric people, 200 millimeters, 250 millimeters. And if you're thinking, like we said, middle child, they went down, it's not XS. Mathematically, would it be 6 inches? And that's 100% correct. So 250, 200, 150. The catch is, and one of the reasons I didn't just throw those on and chalk it up to like, oh, I saved so much on tool of the day, let me snag those. They're currently only available with the dipped handle, right? The textured dipped handle. And I don't know, I actually, before these came in stock and before they were tool of the day, I knew they were coming. And so I hit Colin up and I said, hey, is the 6-inch going to come with the new Xtend handle, the comfort grip? And I'm waiting to hear back. I will probably hear back tomorrow, and that'll be exciting. Unfortunately, I can't put it in this video, but I'll try to remember if I do hear back to leave a comment and let you know. I would assume they would do it. Maybe they think it's too small, or like, hey, everyone's going to throw these in their back pocket. Let's not put the, I don't know what they're going to do. But it seems like it would come. Currently not a thing. If you slept on the TwinGrip and any of this intrigues you by the time we're done here, and you're like, oh, I can't believe I missed that tool of the day, they do have a 3-piece set. It would run you currently $129.44. Some of these are not discounted. These prices I'm going to give you, like the 6-inch has currently got nothing off. The 8-inch you can get discounted, right? I think KC Tool has it considerably cheaper than MSRP. And keep in mind, as time passes, as the new wears off, yes, the price is going to come down if you can survive, so be mindful of that. You do have Black Friday coming up, maybe some other potential sales. Who knows, the 6-inch could be tool of the day tomorrow, and, you know, cash in on it regardless. But my dirtiest, filthiest, nastiest pair of TwinGrips is at work, and it is the textured handle, and they are absolutely trashed. Not torn up and falling apart, but just like antises. I think I have, yeah, I tell you. Let me grab these. Sadly, this is the quick set pair of Cobras, but you see that antises there? Like, that stuff just sticks to everything, and they are filthy. They're like black machine shop dust, silver. And, I think I've cleaned them once, but it's been a while. I should probably try that, see what happens. But I wish I had those here for comparison. I tried to find a clean pair of 8-inch so we could compare and contrast here. And I guess what we should do is kind of highlight the differences. Some of you will notice right off the bat, you're like, well, that handle looks different. That's a huge thing. That is a big thing. That is part of the Knipex Xtend. It's a brand new thing they've done. Maybe you haven't heard of it. Maybe you have. We're going to hit on that. It's going to be pretty dadgum cool. What I want to do real quick is sort of run you through, again, 3-piece set, $129.44. The 6-inch, which is dipped only and absolutely no discount at this point in time, is $37.06. The 8-inch iteration is actually cheaper by 10 cents, $36.96. Keep in mind that is discounted. The 8-inch comfort grip is $41.80. So if you look at the 8-inch dip and the 8-inch comfort grip, is like $5, right? Some of you just hate, you don't like these, you don't care anything about this. You're like, I love that handle, that's what I want, that's too bulky, give me this. 10-inch is available, again, $82.01, $250. It is $55.22, so significant jump there from the 8-inch, which again is discounted. But the 6-inch comfort, you're thinking like, okay, yeah, don't tell me it's $60. $65. They're jumping up $10 roughly here. And that's a little concerning a lot of times, and I say this in virtually every tool haul when we bring anything in. You would assume, like, okay, hey, you know, I'm going to go buy, those are terrible examples because I don't think they have one, but right here, okay, pliers wrench. If you're like, oh, okay, well, I'd love to have that, but I'm going to get the cheaper handle and save some cash. A lot of times it was being like $1, you know, like 67 bucks versus 67.90, something minuscule like that. Now, if you were talking, this handle is, you know, 40 bucks and this handle is 85, guess what? I'd have a lot more of these, you know. But so many times it was like, man, that's like negligible, you know. And sometimes it even works towards getting you free freight, and then it's like way worth it, right? So it's something that I would advise you watch. But again, I do know there's a contingent of you that hate this handle and want to go this route. The rest of you will want to pay attention to this, because we're going to, I guess, kind of hit. Now let's keep going here. We'll save the extend stuff. This is why I do timestamps. People don't cover this stuff, you know. It's left to weirdos like me. You kind of need to know the 6-inch is 3 position plier. The 8-inch that you see here, and you should be familiar with, 5 positions. And you're thinking like, okay, mathematically, Knipex seems to be following that game. +2, is this +2? You'd be 100% correct. It is 7 position. Now, maybe more critical than the position count is the capacity. 6-inch, which we don't have here, is going to be an 1/8 to 5/8 of an inch. So, you know, smaller, but you would expect it. Again, you get into tighter spaces. That's the real perk, in my opinion. This one, the 8-inch that you are familiar with, 5/32 to 7/8 of an inch. So pretty respectable. Again, most of you be familiar with what that can do. And then the 10-inch, you start at 5/16, you know, so you're giving up a little bit there. But amazingly, that has a capacity of 1 1/16 of an inch, which is kind of crazy. Because you got to realize these have total different geometries than, you know, your Cobras or something, right? So pretty big deal for you metric people. If you're like, well, what are these fractions? I don't know what you're talking about. 5 millimeters all the way up to 27 millimeters. Again, kind of a big deal there. So we've covered the prices, we've covered specs, we've kind of gotten all the pertinence out of the way. What I want to do now is check these out, right? So the biggest thing to me, aside from the 10-inch and the increased capacity, is the glaring newness. And when I turn this over, you're like, what's new? It's like they're Superman colored Knipex. We've seen it. Not quite. This is what you've seen, the classic Superman Knipex, right? And some of you can pick out multiple differences here. I know some of you are like, multiple? What are you talking about? All I see is that gray. For conversation starters, I would be interested in knowing why they picked the gray. The red and the blue is kind of like their thing. You see that, you just assume, unless you're like some work pro fanatic, you know, you like assume Knipex. You assume anyone else using it is like trying to make you think it's Knipex. Like, it's pretty well-known color combination on plier handles, right? So what's the deal? Why is that gray? Well, this is kind of moved to a 3-component handle. Classically, regardless of the tool, if you had their 2-component, I've always referred to these as 2-component. I don't find them as comfortable, you know, like comfort gripish as some other pliers. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's my personal opinion. Like, if you have everything across the gauntlet here and you have to rate comfort, I don't know that you'd put these there. They're comfortable, but in terms of when people say comfort grip, you're thinking of like riding on air, Dr. Scholl's gelling like a felon type things, right? And that's not necessarily the vibe that I get with these compared to some other offerings. However, this right here, the red, it's always your hard material. This is softer. This, if you're like, man, that's got like some serious metal flake bass boat luster. Everywhere you see that luster, that is basically texture. It's just catching the shop lights overhead a little differently. And you feel that. Obviously, I finally have a little feeling in my right hand, but I use my left hand here so I can feel it better. I can sense the difference between the spelled out Knipex and the blue here. This is grippy, it's textured. This is hard. The red's much easier to clean than the blue. Then you've kind of got the offshoot, sort of a handguard type of a thing. Bit more pronounced on their VDE handles, and I kind of like that. I think I may be in the minority there, but just that sort of handguard, I've kind of grown to become accustomed to that, and I sort of prefer it. That's one of those weird things. Never thought, like, yeah, I like that, but I do. It's sort of like a safety, just kind of preference type of a deal. But what they've done here is they've added this gray area, and you're like, what in tarnation is that? Well, show me that blue again, because, you know, I remember you said there's multiple differences. What are they? Well, you see how I can just like turn this around, and this is like Starry Night, the top 2-inch or 8-inch pair. And then if you're like watching that blue, it doesn't seem to do that, right? It's just kind of more of like a matte blue. There's no like luster to it, just like lone line of gloss that goes across evenly, whereas this is kind of reflective, and it's like the sand on the beach. This is not. This is very soft. This is grippy, but I wouldn't say as grippy as this blue. Now you're thinking, some of you are, oh no, I don't like where this is going. Well, that's where this comes in. This is kind of the new thing. This is part of what's new with the extend handle. I can tell you right now, Knipex is slowly rolling this out. They're going to transition away from this to this handle, and they're going to do it slowly, and they're starting with obviously new products and then old products, right? They're going to just slowly roll it out. I don't know if it's production run based. I don't know if it's top seller based. I don't know if they get their basement dwellers that don't sell as often because they're highly specialized over. I would think those would be the least priority. But they're going to do the entire line of standard pliers before they do the VDE. I'm kind of surprised, because I would have thought the VDE people would be who would snatch this up first. I'm sure they know what they're doing. I'm just a dude in Texas. But looking at it like logistically and sales-wise, if I was tasked with this, I'd be like, okay, who's going to take advantage of the extend system? I would think of people using VDE pliers. Now, that said, you know, there's a ton of people in that trades and fields that this still benefits, and they don't have to have VDE all the time. So I'm sure they have good logic applied to it. But this is sort of your textured area. It's almost like diamond tread, sort of a bit of a grip. Coming in here, where in the past, if I open this up, what do you see? You see red, sort of like a sandy textured pebble finished red. If I open this up, what do you see? You see that, and then you see blue. You see the back traffic finger there as I try to balance that. And, this brings in sort of like the softer finish there. Kind of totally changes the top-down aesthetic as well, where that just kind of came up and stopped. This goes around all the way. This kind of just, if you took away Knipex off of that, kind of get like an NWS vibe, right? You don't have as in-your-face sci-fi, but it's very similar. The coolest thing about this, another shocking tool of the day, was the Knipex step cut. Maybe it was tool of the day. Pretty sure it was. Step cut is fantastic as well. I use it for like battery cable, welding cable stuff, but they came out with a 9-inch version. Just like this, they have like the standard step cut, but they came out brand new with a big version, and it's possibly the first tool that I know of, at least here stateside, that had this. It has something slightly different than this. I guess each tool, depending on the size, you'll see something different. But if I zoom in on that and you're like, okay, yeah, we get it. You know, it's got like texture, so your thumb fits better. You know, you don't need to waste any more time. Well, check this out. You're thinking like, oh, what is that? Like some floral pattern? Because I know what you're doing. You're looking right here at this dot, and you're coming out, and you're like, it's like a daisy or something. Sick. You know, it's bad enough my wife picks the sheets out, and now they've ruined my plier handles. Get the flower out of your head, okay? If I had another tool here with this extend handle, I think we could highlight a difference. You might appreciate it more. But think outside the box a little bit as I try to get this to focus for you. Now, just look right here at the bottom. You're like, yeah, that's a diamond, one of the petals below the flower. Forget about the flower again, diamond. Come to the center point of the flower, right? And if we look here, it's a diamond. And if you look there, it's a diamond. And then if I turn the handle a little bit, you start to pick it up, right? It does look like a flower pattern, but it's the diamond logo of Knipex. A very, very cool little Easter egg that they use. They could have just put like ribs. They could have just like ribbed it. They could have just put dots, something lame like that. Little stuff like this, I appreciate. That's why you're on this channel. Most people are like, yeah, they made it gray and it feels different. We're going to investigate why. We're actually going to take time and look at the tool. Again, in the future, like, I kind of wish I'd have bought the step cuts, but I'd like spent a lot of money on some Mac ratchets, so I kind of restrained myself. But plus I didn't have like any huge like wiring jobs coming up, so I was like, oh, I'll wait on it. This area here, if you pick up anything with the new handles from Knipex, pay attention to that. Sometimes it'll be like this, sometimes it'll be subtle. Maybe on a bigger pad you'll get like just a different diamond pattern, but super, super neat. Again, that's kind of, you've always heard me brag about this. One of the reasons I knock Harbor Freight copying this, like the diamond logo is Knipex, right? Let me shut these for you. See right there, like your little size finder would come into view, but that's their diamond logo. You know, like clever stuff, very cool. And that's what they've done here. So, what you need to take away from this before we even continue, if you love these, they will be being phased out. Will it be rapid? Will it be slow at snail's pace? I don't know. But I can tell you right now, it's changing. Okay, this is kind of like if Sega Door went from black and blue, you know, that I like, to a light blue and white. Some of you are going to be like, oh, that is the epic combination I've been waiting for, buying everything, replacing my old stuff. Others of you are like, no, 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 no. It's like, I got to go get all the pliers I ever wanted before that handle goes away. This is why I'm expediting this video. You need to know about this stuff. These 8202-200s, you can probably still get them like this. They'll be starting to come like this. Some of you are going to be like, oh, I can't have that anymore. I have to upgrade to the new handle. Others of you are going to just be miffed and be like, I wish they made this in the old handle. Some of you may not care. My advice, whether it's you, a coworker, the cool old guy in town that like collects tools, the guy that just buys new tools all the time, find somewhere, whether it's in store, in person, a retailer, a buddy, where you can get a pair of Xtend handles in hand to determine if you like them, and if you like them better than the previous iteration, better than the dip textured, and better than the smooth plastic coating, right? Because that could change how you buy. If you're just getting into Knipex, you're like, man, these are like the greatest pliers in the world, how did I not know about these? And you love what you're going to see with this, because there is still more to cover, maybe hold out buying, but at the same time, know if some of this stuff gets clearanced or closed out, you could save significant money, and then you have to make the decision, is it worth it to go that route, or do you need to come in and wait patiently for your desired pliers to have this configuration? So what we'll do now is jump to the other huge change with the handle. We've covered the material differences. We've covered kind of this cool Easter egg, if you will. Looking again on the inside, where we used to have like made in Germany, very, very boldly placed. I was kind of a fan of that. You still have it, don't worry. If we can keep this thing open, you'll see there in the blue, made in Germany. We've got our date. You got Knipex, Wurpital, everything, and you're like, what is this? Like, put my name there? Yes, you can. You can put your name there. If we turn this around, you can put your name here too. But this is part of their brand new Xtend system. You're like, Xtend system? What jargon are you speaking, buddy? You got that accent, but good lord, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, let me try and walk you through it with this convenient flyer that was in the plier pack, right? So, Knipex Xtend, you're looking at this and you're like, whoa, brain cannot compute. What is going on here? Well, I'm going to tell you. Knipex Xtend comfort handles, a revolutionary design that enhances confidence, increases comfort, provides a heightened sense of security, and enables you to customize your tools. Some of you may disagree with the previous statements about confidence, comfort, and sense of security, but the customization is undeniable. That's what we care about. And if you're looking down here like, what was that like Jolly Rancher pixie stick crap at the bottom? It was this stuff right here. And you're like, what? This is like an April Fool's video in October. What's the catch? You got to realize, like, this would look nuts if you didn't know what was going on here. And I have to say, it's kind of nuts, but in the cool way. So what you got, I spent $554 here and $554 here. And you're like, idiot, what did you do? Like, what is that? Well, this is pack 1. If you're on KC Tool, this is what they are going to call color pack 1. All right. I denote that one by having pink. All right. It just stands out the most. This right here, same price, is color pack 2. I just call it green because, again, it just seems to stand out the most. There are 10 colors. The word I can never know how to pronounce because no one seems to use it except in videos. I never take the time to check it out. Anthracite, we'll just go with that. It's sort of like a grayish black. Green, magenta, orange, purple, gray, white, blue, red, and yellow. I picked these up not because I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to have the pink. This is to showcase them. I did this for you. Okay, if this was for me, everything would be blue, and I probably would have picked out a couple other colors. And you're like, colors? What on earth? Like, you've got to explain this to me. Well, take a look at the packaging. Ignore the colors for a second and look at this green. See how it's sliding up, and you're like, is that the handle of the pliers? Tell me more. Show me the packaging. You know, I usually don't request the packaging, but show us the packaging. Your tool, your color, your way. Quickly identify your tools and keep them separate from the tools of other workers on the job site. It's available in 10 colors. Your clips, your pliers, personalized by you. This is another thing that's going to get even crazier and even cooler. I have not opened these, I have not played with these, but let's talk about them real quick, alright? So, I don't have a ton of time on this card. I'm probably going to have to stop and go delete some footage. But I'm going to open these up, and you're like, okay, so they said separate your tools and personalize them from others on the job site. What is, we need to see this, okay? So, out of this glorious 10 pack, I'm going to grab blue, which is easily the best color in there. You may disagree. It doesn't necessarily stand out the most, but it looks the best. And we've got these slots right here. Again, I've never done this, where you're going to be watching me fail or succeed in real time. And you'll note there's sort of a cutout here. It kind of looks like this. And then there's like this little tab here. So let's do this together. I'm going to line this sucker up. What have I done? Well, that looks cool. Like, don't you think? Like, this stands out and looks better than having that gaping hole there. Spoiler alert, the pliers are 100% functional. You do not have to buy this. You do not have to use it. It's 100% optional. That said, who can resist the opportunity to customize your stuff? Now, let's be honest, you know, the blue is a logical choice here. Red might even be practical to blend in. But what happens when you're on, let's take TwinGrips out of the equation, and like, these are just side cutters. Everyone has Knipex side cutters, and everyone had to be bougie and get the 2-component handles, right? So what's the deal? You know, Juan took your pliers again. What's up with you, Juan? Get your own pliers. He's like, these are mine. Can't you tell the difference? You can now, because you're going to pull that blue out and you're going to go get pink, so no one on the job site confuses your stuff with theirs, and if they do, they're going to throw it down as soon as they see that hideous pink. It's actually a good shade of pink in my opinion, but you can see where I'm going with this, right? So anytime somebody picks the pliers up out of the dirt and they're like, yeah, here they are, and they're like, oh wait, no, that's pink, that's Larry's stuff, you're home free. Maybe everyone at your job site just fights over the blue because they think it's the coolest or something, and you're like, hey, I like green, I'm going to plug that in. You're home free. You get the idea. Ignoring that aspect, everyone fighting over the same pair of 10-inch side cutters, how could these colors benefit you? Why are there 10 colors? Well, let's say that you're working solo, holding the fort down, right? Whether you're an electrician, HVAC, just like mobile repair, just you could be in an industrial setting and you're like running up to go fix lathe 2 like I had to do the other day. So what goes on? You take your tools with you, right? Maybe they're flat on a cart. Maybe you're a bucket guy, right? Maybe you got like one of those fancy electrician pro pack things, you know, that people spend tons of money on. How do you store your pliers in there? You don't store them like this. Fat handles down, wider opening. You put the business end down, okay? And that means every pair of your Knipex pliers stands up and you're looking at this. which one's which. You don't know. All right. Maybe the height, maybe you've got like 6-inch side cutters, 8-inch twin grip, 10-inch pliers wrench. And you're like, yep, the tall handle, that's what I need. But what if you don't? What if they're like all 250 millimeters or 10 inches? You're like, well, nope, not it. Oh, there's the twin grips. As a solo guy, twin grips are blue. Okay. They don't have these yet, but we'll just imagine they do. I could do my pliers wrench 10-inch in blue. I could do Cobra's 10-inch in blue. Then in 8-inch, I could make everything green. 6-inch, I could make it pink. Something a little more practical than that. This is up to you. You get to set this up. I've got blue in the twin grips, so I'm going to run with that. My 8-inch twin grips, my 6-inch twin grips, if they get the sweet new handle, blue. That's my twin grip color. Green, that's going to be go. Well, that's going to be side cutters, right? Yellow is my pliers wrench color. Purple or magenta or whatever, you know, is my Cobra, you know. You get the idea, right? It's up to you. There is a third option here. You're a foreman, you're in management, you own the business, whatever it might be. You've got multiple areas, assembly, teardown, repair. You've got the same tools. These are freaking awesome. You got 6 or 7 pairs strung out across your shop. Isn't it frustrating when you come in and you go to station 2 and your awesome 10-inch twin grips are gone? It sure is. So what do you do at station 2? Well, station 2 is gray. Station 3 is yellow. Station 4 is green. You see where I'm going here? Then when you come to station 2 and you've got pink instead of blue, you're like, what is station 6's twin grip doing at station 2? And you start to figure out who migrates the tools. Who's this devious criminal agent that's causing havoc in the workplace, right? There's so many options and they're all super, super cool. It's cleared up some space for us. But that opens it up. Whether it's everyone on the job site has 10-inch twin grips and each worker is assigned a color, gets to pick a color. You ensure your safety with yellow. No one else likes yellow, all right? It's just you alone, but you've got a whole arsenal of Knipex face down in a bucket. Come up with your own system. Sky is the limit, and the way this is going to work, you're like, man, I would have to buy a ton of these stupid things just to get 2 green out of every pack. What am I going to do with the rest of them? Who do I sell these to? Do I open an account on some forum to trade colors I don't want? You totally could, but they have smartly done a system where you can buy a 10-pack of your choice of the 10 colors. When you go to KC Tool, I'll have a link for you. I would hope other retailers, wherever you buy these from, do the same thing. If it's not in person, you'll have the drop-down box. All right. When you hit that drop-down arrow, you're going to, again, have Color Pack 1, which was pink, right? Yes. Color Pack 1 was the pink pack. Color Pack 2 was green. You can go that way if you're like, I just need to see these in person. I think I'm going to get by with these 10. You know, I don't even have a full complement of these handles yet. Let me start there and pick the colors out. Totally understandable. That's part of my logic. The other part is showing you the colors. But let's say if you're like, okay, blue, I'm doing blue. It's going to be awesome. All my stuff's blue. It couldn't even be that, like, here in my shop right now, late at night, I don't have anyone else here. Right? I store these pliers not in a bucket, but sideways in pliers racks. You might just literally do this for the aesthetic value of it. You might just prefer that. Some of you are like, I'm never going to spend a dime. I don't care about that hole there. Keep in mind you can put your name there too. Like, you know, that's the thing, but this is a little cooler. It's a little bit more exciting for video purposes, right? But if you decide like, hey, I'm Mr. Aesthetic, I'm Mr. Green Tool, I gotta have, and it's a dark green too, epic, I'm gonna put every Knipex handle I own in this new style in green. You can get a 10-pack of the green. So do with that what you will. If you're the foreman guy, if you're the boss man, owner of the business, and you're like, okay, this is great, I've got 3 stations, I want red, I want blue, and I want green for 1, 2, and 3 respectively. You can come in and buy a 10-pack of green, 10-pack of blue, 10-pack of red. Go to town, right? You're home free. That said, there is another literal tie-in. When you're thinking like, literal tie-in, what are you talking about? You know, what else could you do with these? Like, who knew this was so complicated, right? You know? There's this. And what is this? You're like, okay, this is a red pack. Okay, we get it. You got, oh wait, it's a smaller. That's not tin. You can get like a smaller pack. That's cool. I'll save a little money. No, there are two different packs. And what this is a tether attachment point. I picked this one up. That's 6-piece. It was $4.22. There is a 10-piece set that runs $8.50. Some of you are like, huh, that math doesn't quite come out. These are rated to hold 600 grams. The other pack is rated to hold 1.3 pounds. It's very possible they might have some that are rated to hold more, some to hold less. I don't know all the particulars yet. As best I know, those are the only two configurations. So, what this is going to allow you to do, as the back will more eloquently explain than I could, you can just simply attach a lanyard, put a tether on it, right? Identify the right tool at a glance with the color-coded clips, which, think about it, you only need one tether on your tool, so the other side can still be color-coded, which that's where like the dedicated 10 packs of a lone color would be nice. On your 3-component comfort handle. So while I like to call a Knipex 2-component, or in this case 3-component, they're going to roll with 3-component comfort handle. I won't argue with that. It's a manufacturer there. And it can be used with lanyards and adapters in the Knipex Tethered tool system. So, you're Mr. Scaffolding, right? You're up on ladders all the time. You know, you're on the SkyTrack. And the SkyTrack's got a really bad hydraulic leak that you've been telling people to please fix for so long, and it never just seems to happen. Last thing you want to do is drop your tool on somebody down below, or drop it and have to ride the thing down and question of if you're going to get to come back up. Alright, so that's where this comes in. It's going to keep your tool from falling to the ground. It'll still fall, but it won't hit the ground. You don't have to descend down in the SkyTrack or something, right? So if you could read that, which I'm not going to waste our time trying to focus, I know better. That one is 1.3 pounds. So, where we've got the blue one, I'm going to come in over here. This is sort of a little backwards because you're going to slide this one from here in instead of top down for the color clip, right? And then this one is sort of inside out, or like I said, top down. Take this, we position it, we slide it, you've got your tether. Very minimal obstruction, I would say. But then still plenty of clearance to get that out. Now, some of you, I know what you're thinking. You're asking it with the blue, like, can you get that back out? What if I change my mind? You know, what if I did green and then I go to work and everybody's got green? Here's your tether. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get out, but it can happen. And right here, I don't know that I have enough fingernail. So, actually, I kind of did pop that. Let's see if I can get underneath it. Oh, buddy. Yes, we can. There we go. So, they do come out. They are reusable. You can swap them around. Whatever you want to do, you're covered. So, quite the long video, right? Worthwhile? Hopefully so. Again, real quick, if you're not familiar with why twin grips are super cool, let me show you. I'm going to come in. I've got a broken drill bit over here. Boom. I've got some aluminum line, right? We'll picture this down somewhere. We have to top down. You'd have to be out a little bit on those 8-inchers to grab that, and this just picks that. Look at the daintiness of how I'm holding that. Fantastic grip. Should be a bolt somewhere around here. So we come in, and we can hold hex profile back here pretty easy, right? And I mean, again, I'm applying virtually no pressure here. Note how my hand lines up perfectly with the gray pads. I'm able to thread the fastener out, right? I'm able to thread the fastener in. Super cool stuff. So we've kind of covered, you know, round stock, hex stock. If I can find where I set this thing, check this out. Again, covered this in the 8-inch video. Got a little blank here. The, again, daintiness and the hold is absurd. You've got to pick this up and try it. If you got 8-inchers at home, go out and do what I'm doing. And you're like, oh, he's faking that. No, I'm not. These are good. What this has, and this is kind of the selling point for flat stock, is 3 points of contact. Right here at the tip here in the middle, kind of where your hex comes back down, and then at the back as well. That makes these extremely, extremely confidence inspiring in terms of holding, you know, in this case, let's say that you were, I don't know, having to come and get the mill scale off, if you're having to kind of hold this makeshift on the back of a tailgate and cut something off with an angle grinder and you don't have a vise, this would suffice in a pinch, right? So lots of puns there. I did pretty good, didn't even intend to. The TwinGrip, though, you're thinking like, man, what a great pair of pliers, you know? It's like, this is a really cool tool. Wish I'd have gotten it on Tool of the Day. Here's the thing, that's not the biggest deal. If you're unfamiliar with these, the biggest selling point isn't the gripping prowess, it's this gripping prowess. And you're like, whoa, what's the piranha effect going on here? Like, you know, here it comes into the frame. And check this out. If I give you a look, a detailed look here, you're like, oh yeah, classic Knipex, really nice. 61 on the Rockwell hardness scale, by the way. Right there. Take a look at that. You're like, whoa, what are these vertical things, like old gas pliers or something, huh? That's where the magic happens with these. Think of van pliers. Again, can anyone come up with a better name for a pair of pliers? I don't know that it can be done. A lot of people have forgone van pliers to buy Engineers and Ingisource. Again, that's going to be the OEM in Japan. Different handles. The green I kind of like, but the van plier name, just super cool. TwinGrip's actually a great name too. It's just in that division, it's having to answer to van plier, and it's like, ew, these are both really good. You can see TwinGrip obviously makes a ton of sense because you've got standard conventional pliers and then you've got the front loading. What on earth do you do with the front loading? Well, here's some of the stuff I do. Number one, this is kind of what I run in. You know, the nails wear out over time, the wood expands, sags, contracts, what have you, rots. I then come in, fresh wood, and I run these. This is what I was doing the other day, literally. Just to get to a point where you can hold it, and you just spin these in. Slow, yes, but not near as slow as my beloved Cobra XS, doing that little fractions of a turn at a time. Now, the next thing I do, you know, coming in to further reinforce it, I run little wood screws like this. Same thing, you know, as the fence starts to go down, this is back here. If you're wooded and rotten, I can start to thread these in. You're thinking like, man, that's a terrible example. That's real world examples that you pull up at home and your fence is about to fall down. This is a nail, and you're like, that's not what you use van pliers for. The TwinGrip shouldn't be doing nails. I do this all the time. And not necessarily by choice. I would almost always use my channel locks, you know, a little rock back and forth with the pincers, or my Knipex hammerhead ones here at the house. But now if I show you this, you're like, what's that? Just some special nail? Well, this is a bad example on this end because it's broken, but a lot of times when I get crates, it's either T25s or these. These are sort of like the gracious fastener for crates, right? You know, a lot of people, you'd be surprised how many people outside of automotive like don't do Torx. And so you send something crated or palleted and it's fastened down with Torx. Like, what is that thing? You know, especially like, you know, you get more like old school, they're like, what in tarnation's that deal? This is sort of like a more gracious way. Instead of having the nail, like this thing is going to just get hammered in flush with your little 1x on the top. This sucker gets hammered to this point. It stops where my fingers do. That leaves this above it. That gives you somewhere to come in with a hammer, or the TwinGrips, which they are freaking nominal for pulling this out, because these are usually relatively loose. And if you're like me, a lot of times when I unpallet stuff or uncrate it, or I've got like a really nice pallet, but then whoever shipped on it nailed down, screwed down, anchored down some boards, I come in with my pry bars, little chisel screwdrivers, get some clearance, get the pry bar underneath, pry it off, and then, being the entrepreneur or cheap person that I am, I'll hammer the nails out, and if they're in good shape, you know, like not mangled up, I keep them in the event I need to reuse them. I use the TwinGrip a freaking ton for stuff like that. Grease zerks, obviously this wouldn't be great for that. Like the 6-inch would be ideal. The 8-inch is what I have, it's what I use. There's a lot of times like you cannot like get a wrench on the grease zerk. It sort of depends on the motor, but if you're coming out and you've got like, you know, your top end bell Sometimes nice, easy access. You can put a socket on it, right? Sometimes there's like a half channel cut out right here. Just picture like a U shape. And guess what? Your sidewall of your socket stops here, and the grease zerk is back there, or the pop-off, and you're like, what idiot designed this? And so you come in with like either an open-end wrench or a pair of pliers, and you just turn it, turn it, turn it. Sometimes I'm able to come in with the twin grips and actually turn that sucker free. A lot of times then, on motors that are default like that, somebody that actually services and grease things will run an extension tube, a little hex coupling nut. Those are oftentimes insanely tight because of moisture. You'll come in and you can just use the twin grip, and then again, you're just sitting here spinning this out in a natural motion. Again, instead of me being over here like this, you know, cartwheel gymnastic award, I come in and this is way, way quicker and much more natural. So, again, that's why my little 8-inch textured pair is so worn out. That said, I think I've covered everything. Again, these have 7 positions of adjustment. This is your max opening. That'll hold 1 inch and 1/16. What's the biggest hunk of chunk I can find around here? There's a power steering pump below me. There's a hammer. Let's see here. I'm gonna do this. Super excessively glossy impact socket. That's a chunk. What size is this guy? 1 1/8. Just picks it up like nobody's business. Alright. Let's see here. If I close this down, I'm gonna come over here. I've got a little dolly. And again, look how dainty my pressure is. And you're like, okay, well, what are you holding? A dolly? What is that? This. Okay. If I come in now, we can, what? This will impress you. If it works, I don't know if it will or not. You're like, what are you doing, idiot? Oh, good lord. Oh, that's hollow pipe. No, this is a freaking rod bender handle. And again, I'm using like the palm of my hand and my index finger. These grip phenomenally. You don't have to use these as screw extractors. They do so many things well. They are truly an amazing tool. In my opinion, you've got to have one. What size you get? Well, now you got some options. You can go 6, 8, or 10. The 8 is going to be tried and true. 10, big brother on the block, 6-inch. One could argue that might be the most versatile. It kind of depends what you're doing, right? Like, there's places these aren't going to go that the 6-inches will. There's things this will hold, like that rod bender handle, that the 6-inch isn't going to do. That's why, in a perfect world, you have a ton of tools. Alright? Let's see here. Just because we can, I think it's important that you see this. I've got a couple, if you're like, man, why did you bring all this stuff out here? Well, it was to show you the handles, right? So, I don't have a ton of the 250 stuff in the 2-component handle, but this is a pretty good sampling, alright? You gotta realize the pliers wrench is opened up a little bit, but we have a Cobra, we've got a pliers wrench, and we've got the twin grip in the middle in the 3-component iteration. So sandwiching that, textured, pebbled, whatever you need to call that, I personally really like it. It's kind of curious they went away from that. I get adding that, it's sort of like more grip even, and kind of the cool Easter egg. I don't know. I'm gonna have to use these, get some time, maybe get some more pliers with this handle and see like, okay, yeah, you know, I do like that, or man, I really miss the textured pebble stuff. Maybe they do a revision on these and they bring that back. It remains to be seen. It's going to be personal preference. I could love the old handle. 90% of people could love the new handle. It's just going to come down to it, you know, personal preference. So you kind of have to see how it pans out. But it's very, very interesting of a design. There is one more thing I want to do. This, since I mentioned it, this was the closest pair of NWS to me. You're thinking like, those are filthy. Well, they are, because they're used all the time. But see how they sort of have that? But see how they did like dimples and ribs, right? That's a little Easter egg there with the Knipex. I do have to give NWS credit though, because if you're like, what's that hideous protrusion there? That is like a built-in tether point. You can come in with like a little plastic clip for a lanyard or tether and go to town. But if I hold this up, that's similar, right? Very, very similar in terms of like plier designs on handles, right? I mean, take away like the red streaks, and I think it'd be even like more of a, type of a deal. Personally, I kind of dig this. I'm not sure though. This is definitely smooth. Like, I don't want to give the impression it's slick. That would be the red, right? But it's, I don't want to say like it's not adhesive tacky, but it's tacky, it's grippy. But I don't think it's as grippy as this. To me, I feel like this holds my hand better than the new style, but at the same time, this is not bad, and then I get the added benefit of this section here that does provide, I would say, a little more grip, particularly in this case with the Cobra. This is the hard, slick plastic up here. Even on the 8-inch TwinGrip, one could argue like you could potentially rest your thumb there and slip off. Could be merit to that, but like I said, it's just me shooting in the wind until I've gotten to use this some. But initial impression, sorry, you gotta remember, I told you I'd lost my voice, and if I talk too much, I'll lose it and don't have a drink, and we've done both. But initial impression, very cool, very unique. Kind of keeps the heritage here. Again, this could just be something of like, hey, every X years, let's try to shoot for an improvement, a revision, an upgrade. And I think they've done that, especially when you consider the Xtend stuff. It's totally optional. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to do tethers. You don't have to write your name here. You don't have to put like a name tag. None of that stuff has to be done, but it can be, and that's what counts. This I'll just have to honestly use, because again, I was a very big fan of this. Like, this handle right here spoke to me. I've gotten used to it. It was my favorite Knipex handle by far. We'll have to see. We will just have to get some seat time. Other thing I want to hit on here before we finish out, you don't have to use the Knipex tether. You don't have to use the Knipex piece here. You don't have to leave it blank. And you're like, there's no other option, moron. There is. What you can do, and Knipex, somewhere I watched a video, they like showed this stuff. They even had a guy like make some cool stuff. If you have a 3D printer or a buddy with a 3D printer, you can make your own caps. Like, I've not highlighted this really well, but if I zoom in on this and we can actually see that X for the Knipex Xtend, you're thinking like, man, there's a good chunk of real estate there. I bet I could put like LSM for Lone Star Mopars, or hey, I could put my initials, you know, like Brad Bradbury. I want the double B back to back. Or hey, my favorite number is 77, you know, or my employee ID, you know, is 16. Something simple as that. If you've got a 3D printer, you can, sky's the limit, right? You got to get your designs down. I think Knipex has some like base starter stuff, you know, probably the dimensions and whatnot. You can scan those and reverse engineer something. You could come out here and have like something to pick your nose, you know, or a brush, you know, to tickle your hand. Whatever you want to do, you can make it happen. And that is a huge selling point. So 7 position, massive capacity up to 1 1/16 of an inch. Very new, very unique handle. You've got the Xtend system on top of the newness. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to like. It's a lot to compare and contrast. Here on the bench, I like it. I'm not sure, personally, that I don't like this better. Now, granted, with this, I don't get to do any of the cool Xtend stuff. And like I said, you could easily, I think, revert back to this heavier texture in the blue area. But let me know. I know a ton of you probably snagged this on Tool of the Day too. And I know if you did that, you're probably very into German tools or Knipex. And you probably got 2 component handles somewhere, even if you prefer the textured dip stuff. What do you think? Let's kind of try to get some like consensus or polls. Am I like in the weird minority again like I usually am? Or is everyone like, you know what? He's right. You know, I do like that feel better, the old one. Is it just you hate the gray? Like, you know, does it like, what? You know, like, the red and the blue was perfect. How could they do this to my favorite handles? Should it be blue? Should it have been red? You know, you could get by with either one. You could have a blue section again with red diamonds for tread. I don't know. I think this clearly highlights that this is new, this is different, it's something changed. That might have been the goal. I don't know for certain, but I want to know what you think. Do you prefer this? Do you love it? Is it no question to ask? Do you prefer the old handle, but you're totally willing to take this because it's not bad and you love the Xtend stuff? Do you hate the Xtend stuff? Do you think it's stupid and you just want the old school, you know, tether, and you can put electrical tape in your choice of colors to, you know, indicate that it's yours? Whatever your thoughts, whatever you want to talk about, feel free to let me know. Leave a comment down below. We'll try to get a pulse on what everyone's thinking. Speaking of pulse, I told you I was on record. I think these are awesome, but that I would rather see something smaller. 125 XS. I don't know, the XS, you'd lose the mechanism. Being able to carry these as easy as I do, the little Cobra XS, that has a lot of appeal. 125 versus 150, it's not a huge difference. I think it makes a lot of sense. 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch. If those sell well, if they continue to perform, if people, like, maybe the 8 was too small for you and the 10 introduces you to the TwinGrip, maybe they go 12. You know, if the 6-inch is like selling the 8 and the 10 out of the water, it's a smoke show, we'll probably expect to see 5-inch, maybe the XS version. So lots of unknowns here, lots of uncertainties, but exciting times in part because of that. And with that said, it is almost 11. Yeah, I gotta get inside, try to work out real quick, shower, hopefully edit this tomorrow. I'm really tired, also need to drink something, but these are cool. I'm super excited about them. As soon as I know if the 6-inch is coming in this handle, I'll pull the trigger. We'll make a little update, maybe put in a standard video or some comprehensive update with these, I don't know, but your thoughts and opinions always appreciated. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. With that said, I do hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something. That's kind of the goal here. Just let you know the stuff's out here, show you what I know, see what you think, go to town. Again, links down below. I don't make jack. It's there for your convenience. Do with it what you will. With that said, you know the drill. Leave a like, leave a comment, and let me know your thoughts. If you subscribe, you ring the bell, you jump your charger across the creek, crash down, shift into reverse with your brand new Knipex Xtend 10-inch TwinGrip. YouTube just might notify you if I've got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. I am Texas time. With that said, thanks so much for watching, and I do hope I catch you back here for more from the shop.